We are live. Okay, so let's just wait until some people get up in the house
Okay.
and we'll see how this is going before we start the chat and get going. I don't notice anyone. I'm noticing that there's one in the chat, but I don't
Yes.
know who that is yet. Oh, well, no, I don't know. I don't know. Well, there was somebody in the chat and they're
Yeah,
gone
I
out of
saw.
the chat now. So we will just give a moment and you know embrace this moment and the day and hey, winds of reflection, hi, how you doing? And welcome. We're just chatting here, waiting for some people to come up into the chat. What is your first name? Because I don't want to keep calling you wind and reflections. Because my name's Hilda. That's another thing. I should start leading with my name. And I know, good. How are you doing? And so I'm doing good. Excellent. What is your name, sweetheart? Hey, and we got Sassy Susie in the house. Sassy Susie, who is of Real Freedom Forever, who is actually going to be on the show next week, actually. And that
Oh,
is my sister Susie. Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to start. Nova Scotia Organic to the Land. We are back. And my name is Hilda, and I'm going to start leading with that because you know what? You show up in the chat and I don't give my name. And then everyone's wondering what my name is. So I'm going to try and put that into my intro. And we've got Ange who showed up tonight. Look out, she's here. That's right. Quick draw, my draw. Yes. What is your name, Wind of Reflections? So I don't keep calling you Winds of Reflection. I feel bad because you know what? I probably learned your name in a previous Ravneet. I hope I said that right. I like it. Ravneet. Ravneet. Well, welcome, Ravneet. And you know what? Now I will not call you Wind. It will be Ravneet. I am here tonight, and we are with a guest. And like all guests that come here, special guests, we have spirituality, herb, and nature, and AKA Sabrina with us tonight. And we are going to be having a discussion. Now, to just give you a little background on how this all came about, maybe about, oh dear, I'm going to say probably about 2 years ago, I had did a video which was on clear cutting. Now, the video, I'll tell you, when I did that video, it didn't make a lot of views, but not every video that makes the views is your favorite video. It happened to be one of my favorite videos because clear cutting it happens to be a topic that's very close to my heart because upon moving home there was lots of clear cutting, which is massive devastation. So when I did that video, as I said, I put it up, and it was also during a time period when I was just putting videos up, really not going back and checking. Lo and behold, perhaps maybe about a month ago, I checked back on my video, and lo and behold, there was a comment, only comment that was there in the house. Um, and it was from Sabrina, spirituality, herb, in nature. And I don't know if you can, Sabrina, but put your information in the chat, or probably Ange will probably already do it. But anyways, because
okay.
I didn't do that. But anyway, she just commented that I don't even remember what she said, but uh, all I know is that anyone that was drawn to that video definitely and commented definitely has something with nature because that whole video, that's what I was talking about. And also how it was affecting the animals and how the animals' homes had been taken with all the clear cutting, and we were ending up with animals in our backyard, like the bear, the deer, and all the animals being displaced. So that's basically what that whole video was about. And so the fact that she showed up in the comment section, I resonated right away with her spirit. um, I commented to her. The next thing you know, just like things happen here in the community, then the rest was history because the connection was made via spirit once again, and we ended up exchanging contact information. And I'm going to shut up because you know what? I'm going to stop right now, and I'm going to let you take this story over and take it from there because. Uh, I don't want to take that part away from you. But
No,
from
you're
my
doing.
perspective, that's exactly what happened. And we connect it, and then I'll let you take it from there on how tonight actually came about to being.
Um, from our conversations,
That's right, because
talk. We have
we had
we. You're my soul sister. I call you my soul sister because
it
so.
felt like that. And like a very it was like one of those connections that was a lost connection. And what do I
Hmm.
mean? We got on the phone, we exchanged information, and the next thing I know, it was like 2.5 hours that we were on the phone. And the topic of tonight, and we were talking actually about the topic of animals in spirit, and how each animal that had came into our lives definitely was connected through spirit, and that spirit had uh, came via that animal to help us, protect
Hmm.
us, and there's a whole sequence of events that have went through each animal. So that's what brought tonight's discussion, and that's why she's here. Because when I checked out her channel, I was just completely blown away with the number of animals that she has formed a relationship with, and and it just the relationships that she has with the deer, the everything from the deer, the cat to the turtle, and within our discussion, she told me that this relationship that she has with them is one that was built through spirit. So I'm going to let you take over, and and that's a little bit of an introduction on a bit of who you are, but you can just
Hmm.
pick it up from where you want to and let the folks
Okay.
know.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here. And I just wanted to share. Well, Hilda wanted me to share my story, but just a bit of background information. I've always loved animals. I had no idea I would be where I'm at right now when adulthood, but I've been animals growing up. I went to school for animal science, so animals like it's always been a part of my life. And how everything started with um, how I became what I call an animal communicator is one aspect of what I do. My path right now, my spiritual path, but everything started with my dog. It was because of him. I had a dog, Lilo. He was a Yorkshire Terrier. I had him for 18 years. He left me, or he had to say goodbye to me in 2020, November 2020. And for all of you who have pets, I know they're like family. So when you lose one, it's like your whole life is turned upside down most of the time. And that's what it was for me because for 18 years, he was like basically my best friend. You know, everything I went through, he was there. When my mom lost my mom, he was there. And so to lose him at that age, I was lost. So what I did, I started searching, trying to find how is it possible to reconnect to him? Is he still really alive? You know, because I heard about animal communication and how that it had existed, but I never was interested in learning more about it in the past. But when he left me, I started learning and reading that people were saying that they're still there. They can they'll leave things for you, and so I ended up taking a class. I took a couple of classes, and I learned how to. started learning how to do the communications. And what happened when I was doing the classes, I was trying to do the practicing, and then during that time, I was having trouble trying to communicate with the different pictures for the class. And then I said, well, I'm just going to do my own thing. And I went out and I started communicating. The first one was a squirrel, and then it was the birds, and it just seemed like it was already there, and it just got awakened. So it was something that was already within me, and
Mhm.
taking the opened it up, and it came out. And I learned so much about animals and humans, and from all of what I learned and from the experiences that I had, my viewpoint, what I always had most of my life, was that animals were something that humans were over. We always saw these animals as being beneath us, and I can't see them that way, because that's not my reality. They're
Mm-mm.
souls. Is a soul. That's what I learned for myself, my reality. I know everyone's different, but from my experiences, Lilo was just another soul in a different body. He was here to help me and to prepare me for this day where I'm at now, and where I'm at with my walk. And so it was a lot of things that happened, that transpired.
You
But
know,
that's
when
that's how.
you were talking about the communication and how you went to school and how, you know what, when you started to put it in practical and you started to actually go out and start talking with animals and you built up
Mhm,
as you said, you unlocked something that was already there. I I
yes.
I I could completely relate to that because I everyone, well, if you didn't see the video that I did about my dog Warrior and talking about how he was definitely a spirit dog and how,
Mhm.
you know, that communication, I could have a full on conversation with him and we were conversating all the time. All the time. I could read his thoughts as much as he
Mhm.
could read my thoughts. And anyone that knew us, it was a regular. It was that that relationship. It's powerful, and it
Yeah,
is a spiritual relationship because often they are either there for as our protectors or our guides.
it's like angels, but we have angels in different form, I believe. Some of our angels are visible, some of them are not. And but some we can still communicate even though they're not visible. Some of us. I'm not going to say that's the norm, but in some cases.
Absolutely. So you were saying that it all began with your dog Lalo. Is it Lalo?
Lilo.
Lilo. So just let's back up and just to give folks a little back history of that relationship and also the things that you went through with Lilo because
Oh, okay.
that's the backstory I think that most folk uh, uh, don't know. And that's
Mhm.
some of the backstory I think that, you know what, would help them to appreciate exactly what's bringing this moment to the forefront because it is quite a story.
I think I recall sharing with you that there were a lot of supernatural things we experienced together in the house. And at that time, I wasn't where I am now spiritually. So, but it became so common that it didn't. I wasn't afraid of it. And
Right.
so we would like hear. We'd be sitting in the room, and then we'd hear door close, and we look at each other like, okay, here we go again. So it was like, if he was calm, I was calm. It was okay. But there actually was a time when he wasn't calm, but it didn't dawn on me that something really bad was going on. But for most of the time, it was something that whoever it was, they weren't trying to do any harm. But so I experienced a lot of supernatural things with him right next to me. So that was kind of different. I never had a pet that I experienced that with before, other than him.
It's funny because all of my animals, when I look back, were
Mhm.
form of protection. And when I think of one story that of when my animal saw spirit, and
Mhm.
anyways, it freaked him. Just freaked when he saw the spirit. It completely freaked him out, and he hightailed her out of there, and definitely uh, to each human, we knew
Mhm.
that there was definitely something present. And anyways, I just, it made me think of that, and I don't want to interrupt you because I did, and
Oh,
I don't want to take you off your
you're
track.
you're good. You're not interrupting me.
But anyways, I should probably just finish the story and give some of just a little bit of a background. I'm dating
Mhm.
this individual, and not of he was not vibrating high. And
Mhm.
like most of us healers, I was in that fix mode. And what, thinking that I could fix him. So that's just a little back history. So he came with some stuff. And my dog Spike, who was a min pin, who could be a fireball, but he was not a fireball that night, because my friend ended up going into the washroom. He follows him into the washroom. It didn't go all the way in, stops at the door, starts weeping, weeping at the door, weeping
Hmm.
at the door. When he comes out of the washroom, he darts and goes underneath the bed, would not come out underneath the bed. I know what's taken place. Yet at the same time, at the time, I was not as I certainly was not in the place that I am right now. You know,
Mhm.
in terms of, I wasn't I wasn't afraid, but it was eerie. It
Yeah.
was it was eerie. So definitely dark presence.
Yep. Definitely.
So you have Lilo during this time, because you had talked to me about your mom, your mom had gotten sick. And because
Mhm.
you had Lilo for like what, 15 years?
18.
18. So you had Lilo for 18 years. And like you had
Mhm.
told me, like there was lots of different supernatural occurrences that were going on. Because there's
Yeah.
also something else that you told me about how the other animals, because you have other animals that were around you that were
Well, at the time I had Lilo, he was the only one.
okay,
But and that was in 2020, and that's the same year when the bird
okay,
when I started. There was a cardinal that started sleeping underneath my near my window, and I just knew, okay, I'm supposed to feed you. So I started feeding him, and that's how I started getting to know the other birds and who they were. Some
right,
of them, and that's when the cats came, and the deer were coming, but I wasn't feeding the deer. But the cats started coming, and one of them, Sam, she's I call her my the team leader. She's the one that was killing the birds, and I couldn't. I kept trying to get rid of her, trying to chase her away, trying to do all kinds of
so
things to make
Sam's
her
the
leave.
cat.
Sam the cat, she was
Sam's
killing
the
the
cat.
birds. She would, I would come out and I would see like feathers everywhere, and it's like she's trying to get my attention. I'm like, why don't they stop doing this? And so when I started feeding her, and at the time I thought she was a he, and I started feeding her, the killing stopped. So I was like, okay, I guess you're supposed to stay here. And I was afraid of cats. I was never a cat person. I'm actually allergic to cats. So I, you know, I was always afraid of cats. And love dogs. And here comes this cat wants to play with me and get close to me. And I'm like, okay, I'm not ready. But she came one in the past, but she's the one that I I trust her as far as not harming me. I know she won't hurt me, and she's she's here. She's always going to be with me. I'm going to wherever I go. She's going to come with me.
Okay, I have a question. How many animals do you currently communicate with on a regular basis, and what are they? Because that's what
Okay.
the folk need to know. Because it's a barrage of quite a few different animals currently.
Um, the three cats. The three cats. One of the male. Well, depends on the male cat. Some of them more so like one of the newer male cats. He's starting to open up a little more. But the cats, the residential, I'm gonna call them the residential cats, my girl cats, because those are the ones that I'm close to. Um, one of the deer, several of the birds, because they're kind of like I call them my angels or guardians. Some of them are angels guardians,
I've seen in
and
your videos, I've seen turtles, I've seen deer, I've seen beaver, I've
mhm.
seen uh, all these animals, and she has feeding stations up for some of these animals.
With let me tell you what's going on with the turtle. Some of the animals I can't communicate with everyone. The ones that I can't communicate with, I get assistance. I ask for assistance, and they serve my guides are spirit guide that or angel that works with me serves as like a mediator. And
Okay.
because like when the turtles, usually with the turtles, when I'm working with helping the turtles, they're trying to get to the pond. There's a fence that has wire on it, so a lot of times when they come out, it's like the snapping turtles and the regular turtles, they can't get through there, so they're trying to get in and they can't. So the first time it happened, I think that was back in 2021, and I was trying to. I think it was a snapping turtle because I couldn't pick them up. Now the larger turtles, the non-snapping turtles, I'll pick them up, but I don't pick up snapping turtles because I don't want
No,
to get bit.
I wouldn't
So
want to either.
so this turtle was trying to get through, and I'm like, okay, I can't. I don't. The ones that I find that I can communicate with, I'm connected to them somehow spiritually. Those are the ones I can actually communicate with. But the ones that I can't, some I can, but I've learned that the ones that I do, I'm connected to them somehow. But for the turtle, I had to call one of my angel guides for assistance, and I don't tell many people this story because it doesn't even sound real. But let me tell you what happened.
Tell the story.
It's a lot of things that happen that I just don't share because either nobody's gonna believe and it's probably it's like yeah, right, okay. So the first time this happened, when I realized that okay, when I need assistance, who to call, and there's several that I can call and just say, hey, I need help. So I'm trying to figure out how to get this turtle through, and so I started calling and calling, and then a few minutes I start hearing a particular call, a bird call. Now I think I shared with you that I learned these bird calls when I back in 2020. I didn't know anything about this, and so I started hearing the bird call. It was across the pond. As soon as that call, he started calling, doing that particular call. The turtle started moving where I was trying to get him to go, and he kept calling the whole time, and he kept moving until he got to the edge. And I knew who it was. Like I said, I was calling for help. It's like they communicate somehow, and
Mm,
the turtle from his call what he was trying to tell him to do, and he started moving where I was trying to get him to go because I couldn't move him because he wasn't listening. I was talking to him verbally. I wasn't trying to
yes.
telepath. Even either way, I was like I couldn't get him to go, and so once he started doing that call, he ended up getting through there. So that happens sometimes with even with the cat. Sometimes if they don't listen to me, if I'm trying to do something or help them, I have to call for backup and say, okay, you guys, I need help because such and such isn't listening. This happened last week with one of the cats that was he had sprained his leg. I thought it was broken, but it was sprained, and I needed assistance because he wasn't listening to me because he would kind of communicate, but not much. But they showed up, and he's better now. But it was challenging. Um, with dealing when they get ill. Well, not ill when they have injuries. Sometimes, if it's one of the males, it's a challenge. But it's happened before. But this particular male, the new male, it was more challenging. But they stepped in and they let him know, hey, you better get to that door, get your food so you can get better. And so he showed up, and he actually recovered a lot quicker than I thought. He was walking like nothing ever happened and still walking. So I'm like, okay, this is
So I'm
good.
curious, where did you get your name, and how did you come up with your name, and 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 what was it all about? Like, what? Because in because I suppose your name is also going to tell me when you came on YouTube, and what that was all about. What was that all about for you?
Honestly, I don't recall, but I know that I was doing. I'm into herbal remedies and medicine with people too, not just animals. But I try to share with people and even family and friends. I'm always trying to share herbal remedies because I that's what I take to heal my body, and I it's
Right.
like I learned a lot because and how I got started with that was because I had become ill. I'm allergic to everything. I have something called mast cell activation syndrome. So
Okay.
that's how actually being out back all the time with the animals because I can't be around people a lot of
Ah,
time. The things that they wear or something they're eating. So the herbal thing, that's why I was trying to share, you know, teach everybody about healing through herbs because I can't like everything all the medicines and drugs is made with chemicals and that's like my Achilles heel. That chemicals will take me out now. I can't
yes.
tolerate
No.
chemicals internally or even externally. I get have reaction allergic reactions and throat swelling all that kind of stuff. So that's where the herbs came in trying to educate and I'm still learning, so I'm not going to say educate, trying to share what I learned um, with others. And the nature, I guess that was because of the animals that I interact with and spirituality, because this is new, the last couple of years, I've been on this path and I had no idea that I was going to be here. But everything that started happening from 2017, I had to leave my job because I became allergic to everything. So that kind of put me in isolation. And that's
Hmm.
when it started happening. And the first 2 years were hard. You know, it was depressing. But then when I started going out back again, it's like I came to life. I was like I was back alive again, you know?
Nature will do
So,
that.
yes, healed me and, you know, just got my me on the right track again.
Well, you
So
know what? It is. It's a good track. I personally enjoy your videos. I love your
thank
short. It's, and for anyone that doesn't have nature around them, and especially when you see wildlife connecting with the human, it's a beautiful sight to see. You know, um,
you.
and what's odd is I thought that you were in the country, but you're not in the country.
No,
Where tell the folks where you hail from. A little
I'm
bit of your
actually
history in that area.
my parents are from Louisiana. Eventually, I'm gonna. I still have a lot of family there, and I actually I'll be home. I'm guessing and to still get everything prepared.
Right?
So that's where I'll end up. But right now, where I live, it's on the East Coast in what we call the DMV. I'm in Maryland, and I'm my where I live. It's like there's forest area behind me. It's a forest retention center, retention area, and there's supposed to be several hundred acres. I'm not sure now because they keep building. I don't know what it is, but we have coyotes. We have everything in there: the deer,
Um,
foxes, raccoons, possums. Fox? Did I say foxes? Yeah, everything's in there. And so the pond kind of draws. We have geese, we have ducks, all kinds of birds. It's going to be hard to leave here because I'm so
Beautiful.
attached. I'm so attached. And the trees. I love the
Yes,
trees. And you can communicate with trees also. You can feel their energy. It's like,
absolutely.
yeah.
When I first moved home, well, first of all, I was away from here for 18 years and I'm surrounded by nature. And of course, when I was away, what do you think I missed? I missed this because when you have
Mm-hmm.
this and you said about the trees and you communicating with the trees, I
Mhm.
feel the trees' protection, and if
Yep, they
folk could
do.
see, I am surrounded by trees, just nothing but trees. And
Yep.
some folk would be worried about the tree coming into their house. I've never felt that. And I'll tell you, in Nova Scotia, we get some hurricane winds, and we had an ice storm that was really, really bad, and the tree still didn't come into the house. So tell me if I'm not protected.
You're protected. The same with our trees,
Absolutely.
the tulip trees. I love those trees. They are tall and massive, and I like you're seeing. I've seen the wind blowing and the trees just swaying. They took the brunt of all that wind because if they hadn't been there, they probably would have torn the roof off the house.
Oh
They are
yeah.
so. Don't understand, but if you when you're standing there watching that and seeing it at work, oh my goodness, that's
Nature. It's
yeah.
we are we are one. We are one with nature. When you line up with nature, you realize that you know what, it's not you and it.
Mm-hmm.
We are
Us.
one.
We.
We are one.
Mhm.
And we can get back to there. You're much more better aligned. And I
Yep.
can tell too if I'm not aligned. If I'm I can tell when I need grounding. And
Mm-hmm.
it means I gotta get out. And I don't care whether it's for a walk, or I don't care if it's just, working outside, doing something. I
Mm-hmm.
just got to be outside so that I can, line up. Hello, Fatima. You know what? I'm going to go back through the chat right now. Just take a second and go back through and see if anyone has, because we just once again dived right on in and people started coming into the room. So I want to just say hi, hello to everyone. Um, Revneet and Angie baby and Sassy Susie and Miss Lexi we had in the house and Raj. Hello, Raj. Nice to see you here. Tell me, someone, which country you are from. Which country? Well, I'm here in Canada, Nova Scotia, Canada. Lakeel, Nova Scotia, actually. That's where we're coming live from tonight. And Sabrina just said she's in Maryland. So via the power of the internet, we are together tonight. And then we got Susie, who's in Ontario. Angie's in Ontario. And then we got Sexy Lexi, who is in the Carolinas, North Carolina. And I think Fatima is also in Ontario too. So a good group all abroad. So we're covering Turtle Island is what we're doing tonight.
Yep. Turtle.
Yeah, I got somebody from each spot, which is a beautiful thing. But no, I personally felt that what, tonight's topic is one that is in need of being discussed, because we are living in times of great change, great uncertainty. And when I think of my pet, boy, oh boy, oh boy, I don't think I would make it through. I don't think I would make it through if I didn't have if I didn't have a pet. Whether what, that's a cat or a dog, and normally I usually have one of each. But my whole point being is that as I said in my video when I talked about my dog, that he was my protector. He was also my ears, my eyes, and he had discernment. So I trusted his discernment, and when mine was off, I would go with his. But these times that we are living in, that one may struggle to stay grounded, because there's so much coming at us all the time. That's and people, situations, and a lot of all of it has to do with some form of energy. That's where the animal really comes in. And when you have one who you know that their assignment is you and to work with you, um, I think it becomes a responsibility to become tuned into that because they are there to also help you navigate this process through, you know. I don't know who in the chat has an animal. Anybody have an animal? And do you have any similar experiences? Or you just may be the type that, you know what, yeah, I have a dog, and yep, he comes home and or I come home and he greets me and we part ways. For some people, that's what it's about. But that's not been my experience with any animal I've had. They've usually been, especially the dog. The dog has been connected to my hip. Wherever I went, he went. Um, um, God, that makes me think of one of my dogs. His name was Joker. Now, Joker for me was a rescue, but
Mhm.
when I rescued him, he was living in a garage. He'd been put in the garage because he was a Cocker Spaniel, first of all.
Oh
High
wow. I have.
spirited, high spirited, but oh my God, just love. But he was in that house with little kids, and
Mhm.
their high spirit and his high spirit didn't always match. And you know, kids want to get on the backs of a dog and all of that. And he snapped at
Mhm.
one of the kids, which ended him out in the porch, not being able to go back in the house. And the mom was not really a dog lover, so made the dad put the dog out. And that's how I came by him, because you know what, it was like, you know, he needs more of a life than this. So I met him once and we had that what I call spirit conversation. And
Mm.
it was like I met him the one time, and we come in union, and I said, well, you're going to be coming home then with me. And the rest was history. He did not want to leave my side. If I went out to work or if I went out for the day or anything like that, ask my sister Susie, because it was me and my sister that lived together. And I'll tell you something, he would not let up unless she took him for a walk, but he would just mourn for me at the window. Just mourn. And you know, I'll tell you, once again, I was going through a huge metamorphosis in my life, and he was huge support to my healing on
Mhm.
so many levels. And unfortunately, he is no longer with us because he got into poison, and the rest was history. So,
Wow.
you know,
Sorry
but
to hear.
nonetheless, it was one of the most powerful relationships uh, that I've had with a dog.
Mhm.
Because when I tell you all that, you know, if I got up 150 times, now hear me, if I got up 150 times and went out the room, he got up 150 times and trailed me. It would not matter. It would not matter. He just needed to be with me, and I with him. So we've had some new people enter the chat. So I don't want to miss anybody. I guess I got everybody. I just don't want to miss anybody. Popping in to say hi. Can't stay, but love you, baby sis. And Sabrina, love you too, Miss Lexi. Love you too. And girl, go and enjoy your Friday night. And I do appreciate everyone that has come out. Animals are souls for sure. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And Raj is a vegetarian. So I must be a part of some conversation. And Susie says, "You're with the believers of the above and the beyond." I don't know. Is that a group? The believers of the above and beyond? I should check that out.
Hmm.
I should check that out because who? There is another thing like this here past who this past week. I have had because we were talking about the topic tonight and animals and that I had a trip down memory lane with all the animals that have passed through my life, and it was it was a bit of a heavy trip, but nonetheless a good one,
Yeah,
because when you know what you know, and uh, you just look at that whole grief thing from a different standpoint. But
yeah,
nonetheless,
exactly.
it's as you said in the beginning, that's a whole topic right there, learning how to deal with the grief of your dog, because it is
And
not like any other grief that you've ever,
mm,
ever went through. It's not like you can talk about it. Um,
mhm.
um, and people
And
think that you should just get over it. Go ahead.
yeah, and that was a way for me to deal with grief. That was what learning, taking those classes and learning about animal communications. That was my way of dealing with it. And people deal with grief differently.
Yes.
But at the time, I realized that was a way of dealing with it. I just knew I was trying to find out where he's at and if he's okay. And he like leave me something because that's what they say. Oh, they'll let you know that they're still with you because you'll hear things or you'll see things show up, and that happened. So
I
and
I think that I just thought about this, and I thought, I mean, I've dealt with grief from a very, 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 very early age, losing my grandparents early, my parents early. My whole
mhm,
point being is I don't think I ever really properly dealt with grief until I lost my dog, and that would have been Joker, the dog that I'm
mhm,
talking to you about. That what followed me everywhere. I
yeah,
actually had to take the time to mourn him, come
mhm,
into an acceptance of the reality that he was no longer there, then
mhm,
understand the purpose that he served in my life, and because it took me a long time before I could have another animal after that,
mhm,
but nonetheless, what I learned out of that whole experience: reason, season,
mhm.
lifetime, because we want to hold on for life, right? And that's only as long as the universe has in order. So that's that's a part of what happens when it comes to loving any animal, as far as that goes. So some more of your story. Um, I hope I didn't cut you off.
Sometimes when there's an injured animal that shows up, uh, that it can be challenging. Usually, it's something um, that because I most people who take
Right,
an option if you because they're what they call feral cats, but sometimes they're not really feral, but they're just out. Someone just let them go, but they're
right,
still not people. You can't capture them. And so with the male cats, that's the issue. And last year there was an incident with one of them, Pebbles. He had a sprain, and like I said, I do herbs for myself because I'm allergic to everything else, and so I had to research last year. And actually, when the cats first came, because Sam, the female, she had health issues, and her issue, she was having some issues, UTI, and this was all new to me because my dog had everything, but he didn't have the same things the cats had. So I'm learning and trying to figure out how to treat him. And then I had contacted a rescue. I'm jumping stories. I'm sorry. I'm going back to Sam, but I was trying to get to. It's still part of the challenges of trying to when they're ill or injured. With Sam, she came and she had blood in her urine, and so I'm trying to find out, okay, what we need to do. And so I found the rescue that did the initial, because all the cats that come there, they've been TNR, trapped, neutered, and or spayed, so
Okay.
they have the ear notch. So there was a rescue that took care of the ones in my neighborhood, and I was able to get that number. So I called, and the lady was she said, "Well, I can come get her, and we can take her to the doctor and get all the treat. There was a doctor that would treat the neighborhood cats." And I said, I didn't set right with me. I didn't feel comfortable letting her go to because she trusted me, and I'm like, I can't just let her go. So I said, well, can I take her? And she was like, no. I so in the end, basically, I had to take care of it myself because I couldn't.
Right.
I wasn't going to let her go because I gained her trust, and to just hand her over to a stranger. I didn't even know this lady.
Mm. Mm.
She was supposed to be here with me. So, and I knew she wasn't going to come back because she had belonged to someone before. She was already trained. She knew she would have been a great for someone that's a cat lover. She would have been a great house pet because
Yeah.
she already been there. That was her life before. But I couldn't let her go because I knew that once they had her, they were going to be like, oh, let's just keep her. She's just so I was like, nope, I'm not
Right.
parting with her. I'm not letting her go. And so I had to learn and do trial and error to treat her. We got it down, and I had to get assistance from you know, I call it my spirit team, but we got it. So she was my first patient trying to treat. But then, like I said, sometimes it's challenging with the males because it was easy for her because, like I said, I was able to handle her. Unlike the males, I couldn't handle them, and so I was able to handle her, and she wasn't going to hurt me, and so that made her an easy patient. And so when the males get ill with pebbles, it was I'm sure everyone heard of turmeric, the spice.
Mhm.
We take a lot of ailments and treatment, and cats. It's cat friendly, and that's what I treated him for his sprain with. It worked. He would come eat. After he ate, he would come in limping, and then he'd eat. He'd walk out like he was okay. And so we treated him every day. He would come in and eat his food, and I would add that to it, and he would be fine. But another thing I also do sounds and water. But there's a person from Zen Wounds. She's a YouTuber, and I found her a couple of years ago. But she does sound healing, and I use it for myself,
Yeah.
and it helps with the wildlife because I've used it for one of the deers for ticks, and that's what I play when I usually come out to feed them. I play that, so I'm like, if anybody have anything, the frequencies, because it's the frequencies that connect with our cells. That's what the healing is, and I that too. And
Right.
I try to tell people, yeah, the frequencies do heal our bodies. There's proven research. I can't recall specifically what, but I've read it and seen it. But so that's what I use to treat the injuries. And so this past week, the new cat, his name is Snowball. He injured his leg, and I think what happened, he jumped from the I didn't know he was on the deck, and I was going up there, and he was trying to get away from me because he's not used to me, and so he jumped on the rail and then he jumped down. So it was a kind of a long jump. And then that evening he came back limping, and I always hate to see them injured. It troubles me to see them like that. And so I knew, okay, well, I knew what I had to do, and so I prepared his food, and he did not eat it, and it bothered me so because most of the cats come in, they're not picky. They learn to be picky once I start feeding them. He came in picky, so it's like what I gave him to eat, he didn't want it, so he didn't get
No.
anything. So next day he came, he showed up. I think I was able to get him something to eat, so I had to try to figure out, okay, what can I give him that he's going to eat so he can take the turmeric and start healing. And I was really concerned, like I said, at one point, because I'm thinking, okay, do I need to take him to a vet? Because the way he was holding his leg, his paw, well, his front leg, it looked like it was crooked, and I'm thinking it's broken. But I was already told, my spirit team was already telling me it's sprained. Several times they kept telling me, but every time I looked at it, I'm thinking, no, it looks like it's broken. And so I think the next day, and I'm asking him for assistance because I couldn't communicate with him. So I'm asking for assistance. So he showed up the next morning at the door. So I was able to feed him his food, and he took the turmeric in the food and everything. And I'm playing the sound healing, and that was I think that was on Thursday. Thursday. I think 2 days maybe he showed up, but he was still he wasn't getting enough because he was still holding his leg up. So Friday came, Friday morning, and I'm still every day I'm asking for assistance still. So because he would come and then he would eat one of the other cats' food, and I'm getting frustrated because he's not eating the food that I have for him. And then I'm like, okay, Snowball, come get your food, and he takes off and he's gone for the rest of the day, and then he comes back limping still. So Friday morning he showed up. He showed up. I was happy because he showed up, and he ate his food, and that was great. That evening he came, he did the same thing again where he was trying to eat one of the other cat's food, and then he took off. And of course at that time I'm like frustrated, and I think between the frustration and then there was a lot of things going on because I was just kind of emotional, so I'm like getting, okay, I'm getting tired of this. And so I'm like, okay. So I went in the house. This was at lunchtime, dinner time. um I went in because he was there for breakfast. Dinner time, it was a hassle again, and I was really upset because I had, I was just emotional about other stuff. And so I went in and I kind of threw a tantrum. I threw a few things around and had went off on my I'll call my family, but my spirit team. I went off. I was upset,
Yeah.
and so I put myself together and I said, okay, I'm going to go feed the cats. Open the door. Here he was at the back door, ready to eat, and I was like, thank you. So I gave him his food with his turmeric in it, and I was like, okay, they listened to me. It worked. And the next morning, I get ready to go feed everyone. I'm looking out the door, and I see him waiting at the door, and he's walking. He's like nothing ever happened because, like I said, I kept doubting what they were telling me because it looked like his broken because it was so
Yeah.
mangled.
Yeah.
But it apparently inflammation was making it look like that. And it was like that was the quickest I've ever seen one of them heal. And he was like walking like nothing. And I'm like, I broke down crying
Turmeric
because
and sound
I
therapy.
hmm,
Turmeric and sound therapy. Turmeric is
yes,
very good for inflammation.
and it healed him. And I was kind of mad at myself because I was doubting what they were telling me because I was seeing one thing, but being told another thing, and I'm like, nah. So trust. Sometimes you just have to trust. Trust is important.
You know what's good
So.
about this conversation is this, that we are going back into the way we used to be. It's not going to
Mhm.
be all this
Yep.
pharmaceuticals and as I said in the previous video that I did, my previous live with Roots and Wave, that
Mhm.
our medical system, it's not going to be this Western world. And that we will get back to the herbs
Uh,
and the nature. So, we need to keep having these conversations. And you know what?
yep.
Tonight's conversation has been a beginning of a conversation because I believe in this. You start the conversation, each one teaches one, and
Mhm.
you may resonate and connect with someone may resonate and connect with you in this
Mhm.
video tonight, and may find themselves with a spraying cat too. And you know what? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Well, there you go. You got some turmeric in the house
Yep.
because
That.
I want to include that to my diet, actually. Turmeric
Mm,
in my daily.
it, yep. For humans and animals, it helps both. Um, basically going back to our roots, where the real medicine, that's where healing begins because that was the original medicine that was
That's
healing
right.
us.
That's
But
right.
what we're taking, it's a band aid. You have a temporary fix, but then you have to keep on getting your subscription refilled, but you're not getting healed. So going back to where it all started, that's
We never I very rarely ever went to the doctor, and not only that, but my mom, if we fell down and got a cut or a scrape, or if we had she was going outside and getting something to either make a poultice with it, or
mm-hmm,
oh my goodness, I can't even think of anything in particular, but I'll put it to you this way. The only thing I ever remember my mom lining us up for on a regular basis, and that was Castoria. That would
mm-hmm,
have came, from the store, and that was to keep you cleaned out and keep the worms and all of that out of you. But everything else, you got a bee sting, put some mud on it. You know,
mm-hmm. And
all
that's the
these
best.
things that
That's
are natural to the earth. We just didn't
exact,
go to the doctor like that.
and
And that's
and that was
because my mom was using all the natural ways of things.
exactly, and that the best thing to use. And even like with our like my grandparents, according to my dad, when they were young, that's what they did. Went out to the woods, get something. But and I tease him all the time because I tell him, I said, how can you not trust the herbs and you grew up on it? But what
Yeah.
happened? We get separated and we forget. But we need to
But our
remember.
memories are being turned back on today
Mm,
because you know what? Not only are we being upgraded, but you know what? Everything that's been lost in terms of our
mm,
memory is being unlocked again. But you know
yeah,
what? We are approaching the hour, and I didn't want to keep it much longer than that. And unless you know what if you have something more that you would like to share with us,
I'm good. I've been
well,
enjoying it.
Uh, I enjoyed this too as well, and I just want to thank everyone for coming out with us this evening, and I definitely want to thank you, Sabrina. As I said,
Thank
uh, spirituality, herb, and nature. Miss Sabrina, this is the beginning of a conversation. As I said, I would like to have you back at some point in the future, and you know what?
you. Great.
We'll resume this because I know that we didn't even really touch anything tonight because out of those I know it was 6 hours of conversation we had. There was a plethora of stories. So we will write them down the next time. But you know what? Good night. Good night. And
Good
I know
night.
you were a little bit nervous, but you did awesome, baby girl. Awesome.
I'm still a
Anyway,
little. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
yes. I'd like to thank each of you for coming out. I just want to check the chat before I go and to make sure that there's no questions going on there. Okay. No. Anyways, I am going to close this session out for this evening. As I said, it is Friday evening, and I realize that you know what, some of you have worked all week, and this is at the end of your week, and you're looking forward to getting into your Friday evening, as so are we. I thank you, Sabrina, for coming on and being my second guest. Yay, 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 yay. And I will consider this to be a very successful live, and I'm going to leave everyone, and you go and make a great uh, evening. But before you do, if you're watching this video in the replay, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you already haven't, and share this if you think that this content that we talked about tonight someone needs to hear or they could benefit from listening to it. In the meantime, make a great day. Bye.